welcome to the Tolleson-Mack podcast. As you can see, our main man Caesar, I think he's over in New Mexico breaking
Las Cruces breaking in steers with
breaking
Tanner
in-
Baldwin.
Him and Tano breaking them in for the
Some, I could be wrong, some cinch, shootout, finale, I don't know.
well, they got two of the best to break them in,
Damn right.
and we got one of the best to ever pick up a baseball bat here with us today. His name's Corey Hart. Played Milwaukee, Seattle,
Pittsburgh,
and
yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Two-time
All right.
All-Star.
Two-time All-Star, huh? All right.
Two-time.
Well, Brandon, I'm gonna let you kind of run this. You're the baseball guru.
Man, I could just, what Chad told me about, well, shout out first Flint Farms,
Yeah,
Chad
let's
Max. He
get-
set this whole thing up, and best hay in town. You can attest to that?
Our horses love it.
There you go. There you go. No, so Chad told me about, he goes, I'm selling some hay to this baseball player. And then I first asked him, what's his name? He said, I don't remember. And then, so it took me a little bit over the years. But you've been doing business about a year with him now?
Yeah, maybe a little over a year.
Yeah, I remember when you first started. Anyway, so I was
So basically,
happy.
what he's saying is he's been creeping you out. Like, he's
Yeah.
probably riding in the trucks.
Right,
Yeah.
he's out there right now watching us.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told Craig, my brother-in-law, I said, because, we grew up in the same era watching baseball, and that was like the prime time when I watched every pitch of every game. And I can remember you like it was yesterday. So, no, two-time All-Star, was in the home run derby.
Yeah, I snuck in one of them.
Yeah. How was that? I mean, that was a hell of an experience.
It was a good experience. I think it's one of those things you always think it's a great idea until you get in there.
Yeah.
Then you realize like it's a different world and a lot of pressure, but it was good, man. I had my kids always with me, so I think my boy and my daughter were out there on the field with me. So
That's cool. How does that get? How did you get picked for that, or how'd that happen?
yeah, so right now it's a little different. Like when I was playing, basically they always try to get the guys with the most home runs at that point.
And that was
So,
you?
I was having a good year, and I got asked it, but I just kind of wanted to do it. I mean, I'd done it a few times in the minor leagues, and my son is 19 now, and he plays college ball, but he was begging me to do it any chance I could. So
Yeah.
I think any chance he could get on the field, and he was begging for it. So
That's
that was fun. It was, I got third, but I got
Yeah,
I think Ortiz won it, so it's a good guy to lose to.
That's for damn sure.
Where's your son play college ball at?
He was a Yahoo play last year, and he got hurt. He got hit with like 95 in his like scapula area and broke
Ooh.
kind of fractured it. So he missed all year, but he's going to transfer to Phoenix College.
Oh, okay.
So it means more our trainers are here. It's kind of more familiar. Like Prescott's not too far, but I think he enjoys being close to the trainers, and I can hang around a little bit.
How's that work? Like once you retire from baseball, or you're all done playing baseball, like if the Brewers come to town to play, do you just call them up and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna come over there and hang out with you guys"? Or?
It's pretty cool. Like, I was around long enough. I think I was there for like 13 years. So if I want to go to the game, like there's a few people I can call, and they'll hook it up. But same thing, Milwaukee's great. So if I'm in Milwaukee, I have friends in Milwaukee. Like I have this, friend or whoever else, they'll hook it up, and they're really good about kind of keeping that connection.
That's awesome.
My uncle played ball for the Brewers in the '80s. He said the same thing about Milwaukee. He's like, you don't think like, oh, Milwaukee, but they're great.
They're great. Yeah, I always tell people doesn't matter if you're like a Braun or a Prince or the last guy on the bench. Dude, if you go there, they welcome you. And guys that I played with, guys that were just bench guys that didn't play much. They go there and they get recognized. They get asked to do a lot of things. So it's pretty cool. They try to keep it like familiar with people. So they always want, no matter what year, they want guys to come back and be involved.
That's awesome.
Kind of keeps probably like the fans engaged.
Yeah, it's cool.
and
It's more of a
everything.
blue collar city too. Kind of.
Super
it's-
blue collar. The
yeah.
fan base is amazing.
Yeah.
They tailgate like no other. They
Yeah.
they get after it.
Any Savannah Bananas in your future?
Dude, I got asked to do it a few times. Last year or 2 years ago, I kind of pushed out a little bit. Like I took a few swings. I was like, my ribs started hurting. I'm like, this is gonna be terrible. So if I get asked again, I might do it just because my kids gave me such a hard time for saying no.
We went to the Savannah Bananas game. My wife bought me tickets for Christmas or something. You got to get those tickets so far
They
in
sell
advance.
quick.
It's crazy. I think they were here for 3 nights. The stadium held 11,000 people, and they were sold out like 4 months in advance.
Oh,
for
that's
all 3
crazy.
nights. And it's like first come, first serve seating, and it's just crazy. But I mean, it is pretty fun to watch. And if you like the game of baseball, I like the game of baseball. It's a little corny at times, but it does move faster, and it's fun to watch. Some of those guys
They're ball players.
are ball players.
No, they have tryouts, dude.
Real
Cool,
deal.
kinda cool. And of course, my wife just wants me to go whenever a Backstreet Boys is there, so she can
Oh yeah.
say hi to Nick Carter or whoever else is
Right,
there.
right. Yeah. Yeah, there was all kinds. I mean, they get all kinds of people to go out there and play.
What was your journey as far as minor leagues, or how to go?
I mean, I was a lifer. I wasn't like got not much money out of high school, so I think I thought it was more of I hated school aspect. So as soon as I got a chance to go, I went. And I mean, I said my first year I was out here, I didn't make a team. So I was in Utah my first year. Then I came to spring training and didn't make a team. Went back to Utah. It was kind of like a short season. Now they have like I guess the Cactus League. They didn't have that when I was playing. So, but they did. Milwaukee didn't have a team. So I had to go to a short season, which was like Utah. We played like Wyoming, Idaho, and Canada and Montana. It was actually really cool. But so I went there. I just kind of bounced around. I went level to level. I jumped a level with the high, which was in California. Then I was in Huntsville, which was double A. Then I was in Nashville for a year, or Indianapolis for a year, then Nashville. So I played some cool towns.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm from Kentucky, so Huntsville was 2.5 hours from where I grew up. Nashville was an hour from where I grew up. Indianapolis was 3 hours. So I was pretty, where people could watch me and my family could come check me out. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, we've had some other ball players on here like Anthony Goss and Shea Hillenbrand and some other.
You remember Shea Hillenbrand?
Yeah, I played
Yeah.
Shea.
Oh yeah, we had him on, and I don't know if you know his story about what happened, after he whatever, but he got out of baseball and he bought a zoo and bought a lot of stuff from the East Valley, and he had some hardships with his wife and stuff and finances, and so he was decided that one day he was going to end it, and it was on our podcast, this is all public, so he was going to end it, and he took a bunch of stuff and drank a bunch of stuff and went to sleep in front of his ex-wife's house, woke up and didn't die. So he said he saw the light through the window and he remembered his horse. Well, his horse was the first thing he bought as his big purchase when he got his first check. So when they sold his zoo and sold all of his animals, his house, everything was sold. He called his buddy that was involved with that sale. He said, "Hey, where'd my horse end up?" He said, "Over here in Utah." He goes, "I want to go see my horse." And he's like, "Shay, you need to calm down." Like, no,
It was years ago.
Yeah, this was like multiple years ago. And he's like, "Shay, you need to get his help or whatever." And he's like, "No, I want to go see this horse." Long story short, he goes up there to go see his horse. And when he got to that sanctuary where the horse was at, that lady that said hello the first time, he married her. They got married.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a whole story. And so I didn't know none of this. So when I knew
We had no idea who
he had a feed store over there with his zoo. He also had a feed store. So we were selling him, hey, my grandpa. And I mean, this was like right after he got done playing for the Diamondbacks. Like, he was still a very popular guy. So we were taking a lot of hay over there. Well, then one day he just quit. We didn't say no more hay. Well, 10 years go by. I decided let's do this podcast. So I'm like, I'm going to reach out and see if he wants to come on. I called him. He answered. Yeah, I'll be there. So I'm talking baseball, thinking and all of a sudden he's a motivational speaker. And he goes from a 0 to 150. I didn't say a word for about an hour and 45 minutes.
Dude, we were all like this.
He's a professional now. He does that for a living. He talks to people, stuff like that. So it was cool. Like, it was just shocking. Like, it was.
When we're at home watching you guys play ball on TV, right? Like, I mean, you guys are like superstars, and we're thinking to ourselves, man, that guy's got no problems. Like, he's probably driving Lamborghinis. His wife is amazing. His kids are amazing. He has the best house ever. You just think of everybody like that, right? So when you start listening to that guy talk, you're like, those guys are just badass athletes, but they're just normal people.
Yeah.
Like, just normal dudes. Everybody's got the same problems, And he goes, it had been 10 years, and when I seen Brandon's number come up on the phone, he goes, it scared the shit out of me. Like, did I not pay him for some hay?
He thought he owed me money.
He thought he owed him money.
That's funny.
Because when he answered, he's like, yeah, I'll be right there. No problem. I'll be right there next week. So I was like, huh. No, it was just weird, just crazy.
No, that's
to know
I
the
mean, like
story.
the misconception of athletes is just they said they're different than regular people. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, they have marriages, they have family problems, they have kids that are jerks half the time. So I mean, it's
Right,
then you try to have to deal with all that, then go actually produce on the field, which is same thing with umpires. The umpires, they're good and bad,
yeah.
and they get obviously criticized all the time. But you never know with their wife smacked around a little
Yeah.
bit before she went to before you had to go to the field, so you just looking to get mad at somebody, right?
Looking to want to choose somebody out. Yeah.
We also have a new friend for our podcast. His name's Anthony Goss. He was in the big leagues for, I want to say, 10 years as an outfielder. He played on
Pitcher now, right?
Yeah, he's a pitcher now.
Yeah.
So who
Yeah.
So he's a hunting fool. He hunts them everywhere, all over our places. So, anyways, he started coming on, and that's a hell of a story. I mean, how many guys do you know that have done that? Made it from
Only a few, man. It's not easy.
No.
Well, reverse. Same thing. It's not easy to go from a hitter to a pitcher versus then you have a few guys that have gone pitching to hitting.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard enough to do one, but let alone to be good enough to do,
Yeah. He's
get
at
to
AAA
where
right
get to
now.
where you have, AAA is ridiculous too.
Yeah.
Man. You have those guys are so to be able to just be professional at one or the other is hard.
He's a special guy. Like, it's just crazy. He was my swather was cutting hay right next to the ball field in the Sherry Park, and he's like, I seen that thing going. I knew that farm, so he stopped my guy in the tractor. He was like, hey, and so guy handed me the phone, and he literally wanted to shoot birds right there next to the ballpark. He's like, he even told the groundskeepers where I could shoot in the outfield. It was crazy, but now he's become
He went to my daughter's. My daughter plays soccer. He went to our team banquet and spoke to the team, and
cool.
he came to my Super Bowl party. Like, he goes and hunts on our ranches and everything. Like, it's cool.
Well, I think
dude.
most guys like just you want like regular connections, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like it's easy to like want to go somewhere and feel like you're just looked at because you're an athlete or entertainer, whatever it is. But it's great to just be around regular people and just kind of cut it up. It's,
like normal people that don't know who this dude is until you say that guy.
but
plays pro
that's
ball.
fun. Like going somewhere where you just can
Just
be
chilling.
regular and.
when they see your ass, they know that he's some kind of an
Oh, I
athlete.
know that's the hardest part. I walk around.
Yeah, dude, what the?
You're a monster. I'm like, holy
Sorry,
shit.
I'm driving a van is trying to be.
I did
under
see
the
you whip
radar.
up in the van. I told Craig, I was like, my man, look at this dude whipping up in the van.
Dude, it's so funny because I used to have, I had a big truck and loved it. But then I'm like, I hate parking it. I get like 10 miles a gallon. Then my wife's got like a dually, and I'm like, I'm getting a van.
Yeah.
And I had a big man van. Now my kids got me like it's a relaxy cab, like sticker on the back, like Friends. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a van. I just want space.
I love it.
He has a van.
Oh yeah, I got a big van.
See, you know what's up?
My wife has a car, or SUV, but I bought a van at the auction the other day because we have a farm in Scottsdale, so we all have to ride over there together. And shoot, I love them. I wouldn't go without it
You
now.
know, I think it's my third van.
Dude,
I went big truck to just vanning it up. Man.
yeah, like he was telling me about a van, and I thought he was bullshitting me. I told him, "Oh, meet me for lunch over here at Ron Teresa's or whatever," and he comes whipping up in like this 15 passenger.
AC works great. I'll tell you that. What let's talk about like how you're in the horse industry, or what do you have with horses? Tell us your connection with the horse.
Well, so my daughter started doing equestrian stuff, when she was probably 7, 8 maybe. And we did that for like 5 or 6 years. So we
How did
started.
she get introduced to that? Your wife did that before her?
No, so funny, not really funny. It was more annoying. But we were in Hawaii when she was like 2 or 3, and we went to like, I don't know, maybe where they filmed Jurassic Park, and there's a bunch of horses around. So she was kind of petting the horses, and
Fell in love.
we fell in love. But then one of the horses bit her hand.
Oh shit.
So I didn't know what to do. So I punched the horse, knocked it kind of down. So then we had to go get people because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, you knocked the horse out.
And then I punched the shit out of this horse.
Oh, yeah.
It hurt the
That's
horse.
great.
But it was one of those things where you're like, all right. But then after that, I'm like, she's never gonna want a horse again. As soon as she got back, she kept asking about it. So my wife started taking her like regular lessons, and then that turned into equestrian, which is a different world.
Oh.
So we were there for 6, 7 years, and then got into Western stuff, and that would just, of course, that turned into a farm. But that is that's more of us, right?
Yeah.
It's not as it's not as strict, not as proper.
Not as shiny of boots, maybe. A little
Dude,
bit
we
different deal.
go to horse shows, and these dads are wearing like full on get up.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no.
I'd be up there with like my tank top and
That's what I'm saying.
my Crocs or whatever else I got on. So I'm like, this is a lot nicer for us.
Yeah, no, I can tell. You're more of the. There's the we say the PBR folks, and then we got the NFR folks. He's definitely NFR.
Yeah, you're an NFR guys.
You're with us. Yep.
Yeah. Those PBR guys, they dress real shiny and pressed, and then guys that make the NFR half the time show up in like stock trailers and they're unloading them outside in the back. But yeah, we always talk about that. It's pretty cool to get to talk to somebody that from the baseball world. Now you are part of the like Western world, just like we are. How old's your daughter?
She's 17. She'll be 18 in a few weeks. But no, we go all over the place at rodeos, and she tries to do some of these bigger events, and so it's cool. I mean, of course, we've been to everyone. Of course, her birthday present, she wanted to go to Reno.
Oh shit.
By herself. So her and her best friend are going to go to Reno, which will be interesting. They're taking our big, LQ trailer to Reno, and like probably take my wife's dually. I'm like, that's going to be interesting. So I'm trying not to
Take some good pictures of the fenders.
Well, she's
So you got
going
something
by
to remember.
herself, so I'm trying to just try not to sneak off behind her and like make sure she gets there.
Yeah.
Be in the shadow.
Reno, as in the Reno Rodeo, or
There's a big Reno event. I don't even know what.
the Reno Rodeo is in June.
Yeah, but this is like probably a big barrel race. Or
Yeah, it's a big Mega Millions or something.
shit,
So
okay.
it's a big one.
Yeah.
She's done a few of those, but that's. I mean, they're like a week long. I don't know.
I remember I took my daughter to, I think when she was like 5, we went to Buckles for Bailey or Bailey.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, Bailey Buckle, I don't know what the hell they're called. They're in Vegas. And dude, she thought like she was a superstar getting around inside that casino.
Those are cool. I like which casino was it?
South Point?
South Point's cool. Orleans has done a few. That's not nearly as cool.
No, we went to Orleans. Was that Orleans? No, we went Plaza.
Yeah.
When we went
That's
on
outside.
I like the South Point one.
The
That's
South
cool.
Point's cool, yeah. He ropes at the South Point every
Right.
year.
I've been there 5 years in a row.
Oh, that's cool.
It's my Super Bowl. It's my one time where I can,
But it's super cool, man.
you know,
Like,
what I
the
mean,
setting
dress
is awesome.
up like I'm a pro.
We walk around it. It's like I like South Point for that reason because it turns into that's just all it is.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah. Addison Bumgarner?
Yeah.
And I mean, of course you know him, but you know how his
I know that's cool.
that story.
The sneak attack.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you ever ride or anything?
No, I think I got on one of my daughter's horses once, and that was enough.
I mean, there's all shapes and sizes of team ropers, of course, but like Caesar will say, like on a tall guy like you, I know what he would say right now. You have the body for it, because especially for a healer, like being so like Addison, he's awesome. I mean, he's a 7 or something like that. I mean, it's funny how baseball and any athlete, I guess, how it translates over to the roping world, and you
I
gotta
think
have
it's
the
the
body for it.
mindset, like the winning mindset.
Yeah.
Right? Like guys in baseball want to win. Guys at rope want to win.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
I think it's like athlete mentality. So, like you said, you're so used to doing whatever you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like even at the farm, like it's not us. It wasn't my idea, but I do way more than my wife, which she'll hate to hear. But I'm like, well, we gotta do it. Like, just get up and go do it.
So tell us about your farm.
Yeah.
So I'd say hobby farm. So we have, my wife. We have like maybe 3 retired horses. My daughter's like 2 like competition horses.
Yeah, those you don't have to say no price, but you know what them competition horses cost. I bet you love that. Yeah.
So she has her 2 of those, and then then we have my wife's stuff is like, shit, we probably have 30 goats, which I don't even know what I mean goats, but
yeah,
we always have them to like get the milk and then sell them, which we don't sell them. So they just kind of they take up space. And then she has like 60 chickens, I think, and then I got a pig, so I have 1 animal. Then we have like 12 dogs and a couple donkeys.
Holy crap!
We have a lot going on.
Yeah, you do.
No, it's like it's like my daughter's all into, she's rodeo, but she does dog training too.
Oh shoot.
And then she'll board like dog like the bite dogs.
Yeah.
So when we probably have 3 or 4 at the house. We have
like those ones that train for people, like security dogs.
Yeah, protection dogs. Yeah, so she helps train. Well, she kind of like helps train to get them to go to like the big trainers. So she's kind of like the first stop, I guess.
Wow.
But she can make some money doing that, and she's crazy because the dogs are nuts.
How'd you get involved with that?
We have a dog trainer that his name's Gotta Train, John Gotta. He's like one of the better guys here in Arizona, and he kind of travels around with like baseball players, and he's done a lot of entertainers and stuff. So we kind of met him with just by random. We had a dog that my daughter found that was like a white shepherd that wouldn't let anybody touch her. So we called him, and he came over and got bit, and then he's like. So it kind of turned in. Of course, we still have the dog, but that kind of turned into like a relationship. And then like little by little, so my daughter was super into it. And he started being, I guess, a decoy where they jump at you and bite you and all that stuff. So she wanted to do that. And then she was way too young, but he let her do it anyway. So that kind of turned into like, she just gets to do a lot.
Your daughter kind of sounds like a badass.
Hell yeah.
She's crazy. So, I mean, like same thing. I never hunted. I grew up in Kentucky. I wasn't that kind of guy. But I mean, she'll kill chickens. We have like, the meat birds. Mm-hmm. She's no problem raising them and getting after it, throw them in the freezer. I'm like, all right, well, we got some food. So if she goes,
some girls are like that. Like my daughter, like I said before the podcast, we have that processing plant. She works on the kill floor, and she goes, it doesn't bother her at all.
No, so if shit goes down, me and my boys will let my daughter take care of it.
Some are gatherers. Yeah, I'm a gatherer too.
That's funny. So. Are they like those German Malinois or whatever?
Yeah, so she's got, the Dutch Shepherds, I guess. So she has a couple of Dutch Shepherds. We have a Malinois, and then there's a Catahoula or something there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It's a...
Catahoula's the dogs we use to catch cattle.
Yeah, so they train a lot of different dogs. And then our dog trainer's there right now. He's got his So we have like 12 or so. I think he's there for the summer. Just he's in a small place and we have a lot more space. So he's at a kind of stay in one of our apartments and he's got had 5 dogs there. So it's interesting trying to juggle the schedule with dogs and.
That's crazy at Catahoula because I mean they like that is what we use for catch dogs, bay dogs. Well, bay dogs like we'll say there's cows under trees in a thicket that we can't get. They'll go in there and get them.
I mean he does a protection type stuff and then obedience type stuff. So I mean
That's cool.
teach them different tricks and stuff like that, but just more healing and how to not to be a little turd.
That's like horse training. Like we have a friend named Tanner Baldwin. He's a good friend of the podcast, good friend of Brandon's. And some people just have it when you train animals.
There's like so he came for he's only been there for a week until his house got set up. Of course he's like he loved it because I gotta stay up there, so he's staying up there. But we have goats everywhere, so we had 2 babies that were kind of in the backyard. Dude, he's teaching them how to like heal and how to do like tricks and like go retrieve stuff, which is crazy. So of course all these dog trainers are like going kind of nuts because he's doing things with goats that people normally don't do with. And I guess you don't know you could do it, but so he's fallen in love with the farm life. So that's
Does he train kids?
no.
I got some kids. Send some over there. Send some over there. Yeah. Brandon had some baseball experience yesterday.
Oh yeah, talk about yeah. No,
I wouldn't. So Brandon's son's name's Baron. Me and him share a birthday, and I wouldn't be doing my man Baron justice if I didn't call you out on this story.
So I'm like every other dad that thinks they know everything about baseball and they can do it too, and everybody else is So anyways, they didn't have enough players yesterday, and I'm sitting there from 7:30 till 9:30 every night. So I'm like. So the coach looked at me and I went up, I was in my slides, so I went out center field and for 30 minutes no ball gets hit to me. I'm on my phone and halfway. Well, right at the end, this kid gets a hold of one and it's like straightaway center and I'm like, fuck, I put my phone in my pocket and I'm playing this ball. I got it. I'm in radar. And then all of a sudden it just boom to the fence and this kid gets a triple on me. And then
How was the ride home?
I didn't talk to coach or nothing. I was embarrassed for myself. I thought coach was kidding. I just walked right out. My kid's like, and then I played it off the wall good. I did good.
You did?
Yeah, I was like,
Played it off the wall. Did you coach any ball?
Yeah, so when I stopped playing, I started coaching. So like I was in Pittsburgh my last year, and I kept getting hurt. And so I get pretty much like it's July. He's like, the coach was like Clint Hurdle. He's like, just go home, dude. He knew I was kind of like in the end of my passion was kind of gone. So he's like, just go home for a few weeks. So in the middle of the season, I come here. I started kind of going to my kids' practice, and I'm like, man, this is a lot more fun than what I'm doing right now. So then I go back to rehab. So I was in Charlotte, I guess, North Carolina, with the AAA team to get ready to go back to the big leagues. And I was there for maybe 10 days. And then I called the AAA coach, was like, do you even want to be here? I'm like, no, I don't want to be here at all. I was like, call Clint. So they called him, and he's like, I'm not going to release you. Just go home. So I was like getting paid to coach. So I came home. I kind of started our team, and then I was coaching my kids. So I was getting paid to for almost 2 months to coach 11 baseball. So, but then I coached him and his buddies basically all the way through high school, and they all graduated last year. So, and then I took last year off. I say last year. I took half a year off, and I started coaching high school because I would coach high school too. So, I coached in high school again, and then I'm gonna help Phoenix College next year.
Oh, that's cool. We get a lot of questions about how pro athletes get paid. Like, does a check come on Friday, or how does that work? Not how much, but like how.
No, that's the tricky part because obviously you don't get paid in the off season.
Right.
So season starts.
So you're like a teacher.
Yeah, you get paid. I think it's so obviously 6 months out of the year, but it's like you get paid on the 15th and the 1st, I guess. But it's the same thing you get. So everything is scrunched into 6 months. So you try
Like
to
every
find
2 weeks.
Yeah, you get a check. And the crazy part is some of these guys are getting crazy money. Then you have the assistant hitting coach. It's maybe making $150,000. So that's definitely a different page, which is still great, right?
Right.
All of a sudden you're playing with a dude making $20 million. So you're like, so it's you find right out. So you find who you need to take care of a little bit.
So
For sure.
We'll go into some baseball now, I guess. I want to know. I mean, like every other fan, I guess I want a name, but I guess you can't really give a name. But is there a time when you're playing, you're like, man, this guy's a dick, and I'm just tired of this fucking guy, and like, one of your teammates.
He's like, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you had many of that, but was there like a game or a boiling point you can remember where you had someone's head in a cooler or something?
Yeah, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but when I was in Seattle, so I played in Milwaukee for a long time. There was a dude there my first couple years, and he was great. But it's one of those guys you're like, as soon as anybody asks about him, you're like, dude, he can really hit. So you try to like avoid the question because you're like, you don't want to throw guys under the bus. Because towards the end of his career, when he was somewhere else, he was great. It just mattered with trying to deal with certain personalities, and some guys that when they're at their prime, their little ego gets kind of in the way.
They get a little Deion Sanders going.
But when in Seattle, there's a dude there. There's me, remember John Buck, and then Willie Bloomquist. We were kind of the three of the older veterans that they brought in to kind of help with the younger guys. And we had a superstar that was just a nightmare.
I know who it is.
And it was one of those things where, I told my wife, I'm like, dude, if I get released, I killed him. Because like I kept trying to aggravate him because it got to a point where
He got what he deserved, though.
yeah, but it kept getting to the point where he was, he was kind of big leaguing everybody. Like he wanted to leave. If we had a day off, so if we had a day game, the next day's a day off, he didn't want to play the day game. He just wanted to leave and go to where we were going early by himself. So I tried to, I got after him, and then the other guys were trying to wear him out to like just make him like kind of respect and get kind of be a teammate. And then then the manager would try to make us apologize to him, which I'm like, like that, no. But he never accepted the offer, so I didn't get released there.
When you got, what year was it when they got CC?
8.
Was that like that was
a
like
playoff year? Yeah.
That must have been like the biggest. Like I bet that clubhouse was just going crazy and getting an arm like him and trying to make a push.
Yeah. So Milwaukee had that was like 25 years without a playoff run.
Yeah.
And then we have Ben Sheets. I don't know if you're familiar with guys that are like studs. So he was a really good player, but he kept he always kind of he got injured like certain types of the year. So like we would have a good run, then all of a sudden you'd lose him. And you're like, and that would be a huge blow. So in 08, actually 07, we almost made the playoffs. We got knocked out like the last series. Remember that was the year that the Padres played Rockies in the wild card game, or I guess an extra game to see who went to the playoffs. So we were right there, and then the next year, same thing. We were like leading the division, then kind of started getting slow. So we're like, we need something. And of course, you signed that guy, and you're like, all right, here we go.
I feel like I got something.
Well, because like same thing, Ben had gotten hurt again, so you're like, oh my gosh, we need somebody that can anchor us. The CC of course we got there and he was gassed because I think for the last month he was throwing every 3 days.
Yeah.
Like he's supposed to have 4 days off and then he pitched. He was throwing on that 4th day.
They were getting their money out of him.
Dude, it's got to be one of the best trades of all time.
Yeah.
For what we got out of him. So we lost like Michael Brantley, who was great, but that was it. And then you go from anytime you lose one piece to get a team to the playoffs, that's a huge thing. And he was such a cool dude, man. He was my locker mate. He was giving me shoes all the time, so it was pretty nice.
That's cool.
They didn't fit, but it was nice.
Man, no, I just remember. What about Richie Sexton?
I just played with Richie in like spring training and stuff, which was it was interesting because they always kind of compared us because he was the same size. And but when they say same size, like I was, like a stick figure. Yeah. And like he was sneaky, like jacked. So I was like, young 20, 21, trying to like, hey, like I'm supposed to be the next you. And then I go there, I'm like, oh God, I got a long way to go. Dude was just ripped. And then he was good. He was a stud. He was really good here.
Yeah. I didn't realize that you let off.
I let off for a while. So I was just like Kyle Schwarber does it for the Phillies sometimes. Yeah. We didn't really have a leadoff guy. And it's one of those things you're like, you're not going to change who you are, so just get in there and see what you can do. Kind of thing. So it worked out though. I liked it for a while.
Yeah. Was it a different approach? Obviously you're going on base at the time, but was it anything different? You had like primarily like sometimes leadoff guy bunts more often and such.
Not really. They told me kind of obviously
like
try to be somewhat like a leadoff guy, like take a few more pitches than I'm like normally, but for the most part they didn't want me to change things. And I was a guy that kind of bunted anyway, not a lot, but like if somebody doubled in front of me, I'm like facing like prime Lincecum, I'm like, I'm gonna go and bunt him over. Yeah. Just because I could and I didn't want to. It's like 0-for-0, right? I didn't cost myself an at bat, so it wasn't bad. We had that kind of team where we had more boppers and like speed type guys, so it just made sense. When it happened, yeah.
Definitely had some bats. When you said Lincecum right there, a lot of people. He's probably one. He's a freak. He wasn't. He wasn't a very tall guy, Lincecum. But was that one of the best guys you faced, maybe?
So prime Lincecum. So he was probably a 4 or 5 year run with San Fran. probably if he wasn't the best pitcher, he's one of the best pitchers. And
His name never gets brought up, but I mean,
he was 5'9",
Yeah.
$150 maybe.
yeah, I mean that guy was.
Are all really good pitchers just weird dudes?
Yeah, he was. It's so
Different,
funny because we showed up at the All-Star game in New York in '08, I think, and he was. I mean, just looked like a straight up hippie. Just what's that? You know, like I'm like, ooh,
Different cat.
So every time I saw him, he was so cool. He was, but it was
Yeah, I
just
mean,
like
they seem like cool dudes, but like really good pitchers seem weird.
Yeah, Roy Halladay. I saw him play, and I saw him up close, and he was like a drill sergeant, like type of guy. I mean, he reminded me, he was just like, yeah, he was.
some guys are so strict, they're so like locked into what they're doing, and you have other guys that are like a Linskin, and just like enjoying life and like this is the best thing ever.
Well, that's the same thing in rodeo. I can tell you that because I know some guys that will, I know a guy named Bryce Sager. I've watched him show up, borrow a horse, borrow a saddle, borrow some boots, and win the roping and not have roped for 2 years.
It's so crazy. Like, cause some guys
Some
just,
people.
I mean, I know it's natural, but some guys need more of a structure, more of a, that kind of pinpoint focus. Other guys are just enjoying what they're doing. They're like, oh, I'm good. Oh, hey, I won again. Sweet.
And so, just like what you just said right there, some guys need to be pushed and some guys don't, and stuff like that. Does that get under your skin where, like, the coach will have to do a different approach with, like, these three guys and a different approach with these three guys, and like, does that like get under
No,
your
so
skin?
I get more, I guess as a coach, I've been coaching the last like 8 years since I stopped playing. I get more, I guess, frustrated with coaches that don't understand that. You know what I mean? Like, so,
okay.
well, I mean, just no different. Like, you can yell at certain kids, and certain kids, you yell at them, they'll crumble, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to, like, not babysit kids, but everybody's going to be a little different. They can take a certain, some kids need more motivation, some kids need more instruction. Like,
Yeah,
That has to be really hard too at like a
it's super
higher
hard.
level.
at that level.
but same thing, like, as a coach, you should understand that. Like, certain kids, like, I've coached some super high end kids that are, playing college ball that are like dudes that you can't treat them all the same. You have to, I guess, like kind of baby them a little bit, but if you treat it right, like they're really good. And I guess as they grow, they get older, maybe they go to pro ball or whatever. But then then they have to do it themselves. But kind of going through that, it's just important to.
That has to be pretty brutal too in pro ball, right? You got all these guys, all these different outlooks, attitudes, everything. Just you have to. You don't want to sign this guy for $20 million and then piss him off in the first 2 days because you don't talk to him wrong.
Yeah, well, I think like that's part. I mean, the big league guys, they're making a ton of money. Everybody kind of know what you're getting. You understand who they are, and those guys are kind of different level. But you do have like guys when you walk in at like a minor league clubhouse, like especially like guys that just get drafted. They're from all over the country. You have
Everybody's different.
some kids. You might have a 17-year-old there, and you might have a 25-year-old there. They're in the same boat, but they were all the best player from wherever they were.
Yeah.
And then some kids were the best player. They weren't pushed. Maybe wherever they were, their competition wasn't very good. Then you have dudes that are like at LSU, All-Americans, and so it's like you get this cluster, and you're like, all right, who's going to stand out, kind of thing.
And some people aren't used to the big lights and the big city and the big money and the cars and the girls and all that,
Dude, my first year was funny. One of the kids that was supposed to be really good, his name was Matt Yeatman. His thing was yeet those heat. So that was his like color. But small town Texas kid, big redheaded dude. But like he never struggled. He was always the best kid on his team.
Big fish, small pond.
No work ethic. Just I'm big and I throw hard. I'm like, well, and of course you get there, you're like, oh shit, these guys work really hard. They're all as good or better than I am. And some kids he can't handle like having to like that competition consistently and not being the guy. Like sometimes you get to a point where I'm always the guy, and all of a sudden you get there, and you're like, oh, all right. And then some guys are like challenge. They like the challenge, and then they get better. Some guys are like, I'm good. I'll go coach high school baseball. Whatever, which is fine.
Yeah.
But sometimes that stress, that pressure of kind of getting in that aspect is tough.
Yeah, and I argue with my nephew all the time. He's like 17 years old. He's a sports nut, man. He knows lots about sports. I me and him argue all the time about Kyler Murray. He tells me how good of a quarterback Kyler Murray is, and I say, well, in my opinion, a quarterback's a leader. It's just not the guy that throws the football. So I think like that the quarterback's the captain, right? He's running the whole show. So there's so much more than just being a stud player. Like you got to be a team player. When you're on a team of a bunch of people, you have to take care of your troops. You know what I mean? Do you see that like when those guys come out, like you said, like dude shows up and he's a stud player, but it takes a little while for him to figure out that this ain't a one-man sport.
100%. Well, I mean, even with Kyler, like, you hear a lot of things like, that aren't great. I mean, like, obviously he's talented, but like,
Oh
you
yeah,
get like
he wouldn't be where he's at.
you get like a Baker Mayfield who's, he kind of had the bumps and grinds, but then all of a sudden, like, he sends everybody to like trips and he buys all his.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's the guy who's wants everybody to be on his
You
side.
love him. That's what you're
He
supposed to
wants,
do.
but people love him. It's like you never hear that about from a guy like that. You're like, maybe to be more personable because like
Yeah.
maybe he's socially a little awkward, but that's tough to rally around.
Yeah, and you know when they nowadays I don't play video games and stuff, but nowadays when they can track your video games and you're playing video games till 4 in the morning and the next day you have a playoff game, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, that's a guy.
You know what I
Doesn't
mean?
too well. Was it with David Price? Was it remember he couldn't?
Oh, he did the same thing.
He got like he couldn't pitch in the playoffs
Oh,
because he got like the carpal
Carpal
tunnel.
tunnel.
Remember because he was.
What the hell, dude? And then you look at big leaders like say like Joe Montana or somebody like that, and there's that famous story of he's down by a touchdown and he looks over in the stands. It's like, isn't that John Candy over there? Like right in the huddle, like he's on third down, like he doesn't even give a shit. Like, but that's got to be the hardest, especially for you now, like coaching and shit like that. Like so many, I've always thought that so many different personalities come in there. Yeah, they're all ball players, man, or they wouldn't be where they are, right? But the personality guiding has got to be the hardest thing in coaching.
It's tough because, like you said, even like I'll be coaching college this year, but like the high school kid, like you have kids that just get away with things because they're good, and all of a sudden you get put in a spot where, all right, well, everybody's good. Like you got to act a little different. You got to work a little harder. And some kids either will do it or won't do it.
what was your I made it moment? What was the moment when you looked across and you seen something or whatever moment that was? What was it? The moment you're like, I belong in the big leagues.
So I mean, like my first hit was a homer, so that was fun.
Oh shit!
But then then there was a gap after that, right? So, but it was up.
Was everybody in the dugout like, damn?
Yeah, for a minute, but then reality hits. You're like, oh, this shit's really hard. And then so I pinch hit against like Andy Pettit, which was a Hall of Fame, and I hit a homer. I'm like, oh my god, I'm here. Then I struggled. But I mean, so then against I went back to AAA the next year, and then I really I think learned what I kind of default, right? So I had the power and I was a bigger dude, but then I'm like, oh, I got to work on this. I got to work on this part of my game. This needs to change a little bit. And then once I got called back up the next year, then I was like, all right, I felt better. I felt like I should have been there, right? But then to help too, that I had friends there, like JJ Hardy was like one of my best friends. Like Prince was there, Ricky Weeks who's with Milwaukee now. Like I played with those guys in the minor leagues, and more like I was either better than they were or just as good. So I'm like, well, if they're going to succeed here, I can do this because I've been there the whole way, the whole time through that. So that helped me out a lot.
Did you come up as an outfielder, or did you what?
I kind of played everywhere. So I came up. I got drafted as a shortstop, which obviously wasn't going to play shortstop. So I went to the outfield for like 3 days, and then realized I wasn't going to be a guy because we had like a first rounder, like all these Latin prospects. I'm like, dude, they're going to play. And then our first baseman breaks his hand. Like the third day, I'm like, I could play first, which I couldn't. That was terrible. So I went over there, but then I got better. So I stayed there for a few years, and then Prince signed. They're like, hey, where else can you play? I'm like, outfield, I guess. They're like, all right, sweet, go to third. I'm like, so I literally the first day I was playing third, I think I was like minor league defensive player of the year in like 1 year.
At third?
It's first, and then so halfway point. So I was kind of like minor league halfway, like midseason first baseman of the year. Mm-hmm. Then they all right, go to third. So the first play I had one right between my legs. I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be terrible. Then next play, like same thing. Next hits me a ball, I throw it off the mound. I'm like, they had 66 errors in a year and a half at third base. So it wasn't a highlight, right? So then the guy thought,
It was not.
Sorry, I brought it up.
no. So then they're like, go to the outfield. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, bigger glove over there. Jeez Louise, no.
Yeah. So everywhere you've been, everything you've done, minor league, major league, high school, college, what's your best memory? I mean, not just one, but I
I have a lot of different memories, but I think the coolest memory, I guess, would be that 08 team. So Milwaukee had that big gap, so there was that huge push to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So we're like down to the wire with, I think it was the Mets maybe. So the Mets, us and the Mets were kind of like, we went into the last game of the season tied. So we finished, 20 minutes before they did. So I think I doubled in the eighth, and then Braun hit a homer. So we went up by 2 and won the game. But so of course everybody celebrates. So worst case, we have a play like a tiebreaker game with the Mets, but we would have had to gone to New York for it. So like they put the Mets game on TV. So like I guess on the stadium. So the whole stadium stayed there.
That's
Like we're on the
That's
we're,
pretty cool,
like we're on the
yeah.
we're on the field drinking with our wives and
That's
so
awesome.
Watching the game.
yeah, watching the game on the big screen. So then of course the Mets lose and then of course they make a ape shit. But
Yeah.
that was cool. And that's I was there when Hoffman got a 600 save, which was
Oh, that's awesome.
amazing. And then just things like that, like more team type stuff is really cool. But I mean, the home run derby was awesome. Like getting pictures with my kids and stuff like that. And then my wife was like way richer than I was when we were coming through the minor league. So to being able to like
Take her back.
I don't know, say way richer. She worked at like Ramada.
Oh.
I mean, like
But you had some sweet points. A lot of points. A lot of free room.
maybe like minor leagues now it's different, but back then we had no money. Like we had kids early, so it was a struggle. So to see that kind of or through there and then just hanging out was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Go back to college real quick. Is that new NIL deal everybody's getting paid, the kids, is that go all the way to whoever will get, how does that work for like Phoenix College or something?
I'm sure. I mean, JUCOs, I would imagine, aren't going to get a ton of money.
Yeah, but
But
maybe,
I'm just, I don't know how that. I don't know
Yeah.
if they would be. It's going to be more of the programs that like have a huge alumni, which I still think it's terrible. I think these kids should get a little bit of money, but I'm a football fan, so like I like college football. So like I think I'm a Tennessee fan, so I watch a lot of SEC football.
yeah.
But the Alabama guy was getting paid probably more than half of the quarterbacks last year.
Man, that's
So
why
that's a
I can't
pretty.
wrap my head around it. I just can't understand. Like, there's like I saw one team. There was only like 4 players in the whole team getting any money, and the rest of the players aren't getting shit.
No, it's always like the superstar. See, a lot of the guys that transfer, like these programs, like the kid from USC was getting like 10 million last year.
That's
Well, look at those
nuts.
girls. Look at the girls basketball.
What's like? How does that Caitlin leave? How does she leave? I mean, like
Yeah.
she got offered so much money to stay at Iowa.
Yeah.
She got offered something crazy.
I know, like the
$20 million to play for Ice Cube.
Oh, she said no, right?
Yeah, 3-on-3.
But then she just signed a big deal with
Nike.
Nike or something, right?
I
But
think Nike. It was Nike and Gatorade. 25 million. We go to Craig. 35 million.
Jeez.
28 million. There we go. This is 8, Craig.
that's a lot. But the crazy thing with WNBA, I don't watch the WNBA. Like I watch all the memes on it. Like
Yeah, of course.
But it's so crazy because to me, college women's basketball is really popular.
Mhm.
Then you get it's not really comparable to the WNBA. It's like more of it's almost like they're trying to be the WNBA or the NBA. Like they're trying to
Yeah.
make it more rougher and more.
And nobody really likes that. Like, but I watched a lot of girls college.
No, I watched a
basketball
ton
this
of Caitlin Clark's games, man.
Yeah.
Well, even UConn's, but that's more of like the women's basketball that I think people really want to watch. Than you
year. Or
have, like,
LSU with
Reese.
well, yeah, Reese, but
even the coach goes crazy.
The coach. That's how I watched it. The coach, dude. But it doesn't. It's. I mean, the top contract in the WNBA is $76,000.
Oh, jeez.
And I just heard today, before I was going over here, they said that for the first time ever, they're gonna all WNBAs is gonna be a chartered plane this year. So that's their that's better than nothing.
Coming up.
Hopefully, the Caitlin Clarks, the chicks from LSU, and then there's that one. Hopefully they bring a little more attention.
Yeah.
But maybe they still need to be a little more.
I don't know, man. I'm you watch it on the social media and stuff, and all them old hags that are in the WNBA for 40 years are all on there talking shit about.
I'm like, dude, she's gonna bring so much money to this. Like,
Yeah, why would they like embrace that like with open arms? Like, come on, get us up
I know,
to 76,000.
well, there's so much more attention now than there's ever been. I'm like, dude, they should be like
Yeah.
loving her, and they're like, no, I could kill her. I'm like,
Yeah. All these guys.
Cool, bro. You're 50.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
what are you?
I know
You're
that-
still playing.
if they're like the deep voice, like, oh, we'll get her. I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
stop.
Like Diana Taurasi was playing for the Mercury like when I was 20.
Yeah.
Like, what's
Yeah, she's like talking shit. I'm like,
come on, dude.
Do you know Patrick Beverly? You've heard of him, the
Yeah,
basketball player.
yeah.
Did you see that deal he did the other day? Threw the ball at the fan.
yes,
He-
that was, but they lost, right?
They lost the game, but the fan said something and he threw the ball and hit that. It happens. He
Oh, yeah, I see
whatever.
that.
But Barkley's over there talking shit. I love Barkley. I do. He would play for the Suns. I love him. I was like, Barkley, I remember when you spit on a fan.
Yeah.
I remember you spit on a little girl. So like
That's the hard thing with like baseball's nice because your fans are there, but they're not on top of you, right?
Yeah.
But Batman, dude, some of those basketball, you're right on people. So like,
I feel like baseball though is like more fan friendly. I mean, I know there's a lot more people in the stadiums, but it seems like players interact with
Yeah.
the fans, like the lower level fans more. Like when you're out there for like warm ups and stuff, dude, they'll sign balls, throw balls in the stands. They're
There's
using
a lot of old timers, you look at them, guys that just, been watching baseball their whole life. When we went to the game, remember, we went to the Philadelphia Phillies were some game 6, and there was more Philly fans than Diamondbacks fans for sure.
The Philly travels well, man. Their fan base is they're challenging.
What's when you were up and going? What was one of your big? Who were you signed with? Like as far as were you Nike or Adidas? Or
Mizuno. So I started Mizuno early on because I was unknown pretty much, and then they decided to give me money and merchandise. I was like, sweet, and then I just kind of liked their stuff. So it's cool. I mean, because a lot of those companies are tied to other companies. So I was a young kid, so I was tied to like Bass Pro and Cabela's and Best Buy. So I was like,
Bed Bath and Beyond.
I started to say that. I'm like, no, not so much. But we get stuff. If I want a gift card to the kids, like, hey, it's got a Best Buy, and I'd call Mizuno, like they'd send me a gift card and take a picture.
Cool.
So that was cool. But I was with them the whole time. They were great.
And they have cleats and
Gloves, batting gloves. I mean, they have some bats, but a lot of the bat companies are separate than if you sign a Nike or Mizuno or whoever, the bats are always separate. Or I mean, I guess you can get them, but there's so many different ties, and guys have what they want to swing. So
I get so many questions when I tell people a baseball player's coming on here, and it's just funny the things that people want to know. I had a guy ask me, dude, ask him how many bats he travels with. Do you have your own bats that go?
Yeah, so everybody's different, right? So everybody has their own taste, their own company, their own the bats are all different lengths, different weights. So you have, I think if we went to say a 10-day road trip, I might take a dozen maybe.
And that's for BP and everything?
Yeah, so you have your game bat. So you usually have your game bat, and then you have your practice bats, and then it's with the wood, so they don't always last. So you have a few. You might have your gamers that you want to swing, but you might have a shitty set where you break 10 bats, or you might have the same bat for the whole 10 days. So
that's what I was going to ask you. Ropers, they'll a rope's a little bit different, because they get stretched and this and that.
They get a little worn out.
Yeah, they get worn out, and some guys like it worn out. So how would you know if this is a game bat or a BP bat? Would it just be how would you know?
No, so they're all they're almost like wood scientists. So they'll send you a dozen bats or 2 dozen bats, and then you can basically you have different labels on the bottom to kind of a grade them out, I guess, and then so you might have your these are the best 5. Those are my gamers, and you just hope they last. But a wood bat's different though, because the more you hit it, the harder it gets.
Right.
So you can, it just depends on if you hit it off the end or the handle, you're gonna break it.
Right. So would you want that bat to be BP? Would you want it to be harder, for a game?
Yeah. So, but some bats are different. So I might hit the gamers in soft toss where I know I'm not gonna break it. But
I got you.
I mean, you try to save them because those bats are hard anyway.
Yeah. Was there any when you're getting towards in your career, were you thinking I need to start collecting some more memorabilia? Or did you anything cool?
I collected a lot. I wish I would have collected more. I mean, looking back, there's a lot of guys that I would have loved to have, but I was pretty good though. I had a pretty good collection.
I imagine, you just named off 4 or 5 guys that I'd love to have anything signed by them. That's pretty cool. What's one of your favorite managers? I mean, had quite a few of them.
I had some good managers. I mean, probably Del Swim, which I only had him for probably 2 weeks.
Oh.
So in 2008, the Milwaukee kind of panicked. So we were leading the division the whole year, and then we struggled in September. So they fired Ned Yost, who was our which he was a good manager. But then Del was kind of the fan, the guys loved him, and he was a player. So he took over for the last 2 weeks of the season in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I had some good ones. Ron Reineke was cool. I love Clint Hurdle was more of a country guy, so he was a cool guy to be around.
Out of all the stadiums, I mean, Yankee Stadium, was that the ghost? Did you feel the spirit when you walked in there?
It was cool. No, not really. Yeah, but it was cool. I mean, Fenway is probably my favorite place.
Is that the locker rooms or?
The locker rooms are terrible, but the field, just the atmosphere, the fans go nuts, and it's just certain places just have kind of a feel to it, and their place is just amazing.
What was that field? Was it Milwaukee? What was that field that had the outfield went up?
Houston.
Houston. What the hell was that about?
It was crazy. It's so crazy because they had it for a long time. They took it away, but as players, you're like, oh man, that's such a cool thing.
Did you?
I liked it.
Yeah.
So, because I played center field for a little bit when I came up, and it was challenging, but I just think you different
different look,
different things.
Did you remember that? the outfield went up probably, I don't know, but pretty steep,
It
wasn't
was
it?
pretty steep, and there was the fountain, like the flagpole's in the middle of it. So we're playing. I was in AAA, but like it's still there because they brought the fence in front of it. Richie Sexton hit a ball like 3/4 of the way up the foul pole, but it hits it and comes back in fair territory, so it's in play. So it's
No
like
way.
a 440-foot double versus a huge homer or something. So that would suck. But I never hit the pole, so
Yeah, I remember that. That's crazy.
They just decided they'd build it.
Yeah. The guys would be backing up, and they had to put it in forward
you see,
drive.
and when you see guys fall down all the time, because we're going,
Yeah,
and it changes at all. It's like your legs give out. So
Yeah.
it was a little difficult, but of course, so it's kind of a cool thing to try to like make a highlight on the hill.
Yeah. Ever see any locker room fights?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, not as much as I guess you would think. I mean, because so more minor league stuff is always a little cooler because the travel's not as cool. The clubhouses aren't as nice. I mean, they've gotten a lot nicer, but I think you see more little situations there because there's not as like big league guys are just kind of spread out. Like your families are with you, so
Yeah.
there's not as much as that like hangout time. Like minor league guys are together all the time.
So, like, on a day off when you guys are doing, you're a different city, you had like 2 days or a day between games, would you guys just hang out if you guys had practice, or did you guys go, like, to the clubhouse or whatever at that visiting ballpark?
No, so in minor leagues you might go to the clubhouse because you're poor, so you try to get some free food.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like you might go to a movie or something.
Oh, okay.
Like like minor leagues, so you always stay with guys. So like our double, we had like 7 guys in an apartment. So like you're just around people all the time.
Yeah.
Big leagues, you're a little more spread out. So if I was at home and she's they're gone, I might not do nothing. But she traveled a lot with me, so most of the off days I had her and the kids with me.
It's, and I go back to Anthony, he's a really good friend of the podcast, Anthony Goose. Goss, think about, him. He was at the highest level playing on one of the greatest teams, with the Detroit, and he was, in the locker room with some of the greats. Then to, not have to go and start over. So now he's in, AAA, he's an older, like you said, there's some of the younger guys are in there, and he's, probably, he's blessed and happy to be where he's at in AAA, one shot away from going back up. But at the same time, he's in there with guys that are real young and like different aspects,
He's in there with the Sharks.
Like,
It is tough because
It's
my last year I was kind of not up and down, but I was hurt, so I was rehabbing quite a bit. Actually, the last couple of years. So I remember like Martell with the Diamondbacks, like one of the guys, the coach would always mess with me because I, not got into it with him, but like had to humble him, but just because of the way he was acting. Like a lot of the younger guys, so there's more entitlement now. So like they're not, instead of being like that pecking order where you have to like earn things, doesn't necessarily happen as much anymore. So I was still kind of the older guy. I'm sure he's the same way. Like sometimes you just you feel like you gotta talk to guys.
yeah.
So
I remember an interview with Mark Grace, and he said we used to play like double headers, and between the double headers, we'd all go to the bar and hang out. He goes, nowadays with these kids, like we got a double header, I want to go to the bar. They go to the gym and work out. I'm like, it's like they're different, or they go play video games or something.
now video games are big. Of course, I wasn't a big video game guy, but like now you walk in a clubhouse and everybody's like, there's like outlets and stuff in everybody's lockers, so everybody's more of. There's not that like. To me, there's not the closest isn't there anymore, but.
Like Anthony said, he goes, some of them guys from the Dominican and Cuba and stuff like that, like to them, this is the best that they've ever had it, in this AAA or AA locker room and getting to eat some good food. And like, so they're walking around a little bit more chest puffed out, not knowing that there's still a couple more steps to go, and they're just happy to be where they're at. And just, he said some guys only have AC where they're at, at their house.
Dude, I remember like even early minor league, some of those guys, I mean, money's a little different now, but when I was playing, like you might get $1,000 a month. Dude, those guys would cut it in half and send it home.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, how am I gonna live off this $1,000 a month? Because that's before taxes.
Right.
These guys are like sending half.
They're
away.
sending half of it.
They're like, this is great. I'm
Yeah.
like, gosh.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the struggles there's so, we talk about team roping too. You said like someone's having a bad day and it affects the whole team. Well, in a team roping deal, your partner might be fighting with his wife and you don't feel very good that day and you both have to go and perform, and then your horse has a hurt leg. Like there's so many aspects in team roping and kind of similar to baseball. And we talk about the AA guys, like the traveling that they do and the bus rides and stuff. It's a grind. You definitely have to earn it. Either way.
But talking to every single pro ball player we talk to, they all say the same thing. We wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah.
No, I think like
That's so much fun.
it's way more fun in the big leagues. But I think like so many people that I've talked to are like higher ups and guys that are like getting more into it. I guess they're like, they always think it should be, well, you should take care of your assets because like the players are assets. I'm like, well, it's such a grind. So it's like the guys that can make it through that and kind of like withstand the travel, some of the crappy food, the situation that it is, because it's not always amazing. Those guys that make it through that are like, dude, those are some tough dudes. Like mentally tough because it's
That's
such
like
a hard
making
thing.
the NFR.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Absolutely.
if they can hit all them rodeos in that
NFR,
season.
I love NFR. So
Yeah. If they can hit all those rodeos in that season, and like you said, if they can make the grind and make it happen, they deserve it.
Hell yeah.
yeah, so I think they're so mentally tough that like they get there that most guys are. You see some guys kind of fizzle, but like guys that can get there, it's a cool challenge.
All right. Well, what's on the horizon for you? Just gonna.
Just coaching, man.
Coach?
Like just the regular farm stuff, like pick up shit like a champ.
Yeah.
Like it's
Fucking 30 goats, bro.
they're so crazy because like we had a cow in the backyard the other day. Like they always want to add to the farm. I'm like, of course I should say no. I'm like, oh great, but then as soon as I see like a cow in the backyard or more goats, I'm like, awesome, some more shit that I want to do. But I'm nice. I go out there and I complain a little bit, but I don't know if I don't do that, I don't know what I would do.
Do you have a tractor? Or then
Just a Bobcat, like
you buy it from Bingham?
it's a Bingham, I think.
Yeah, shout out Bingham.
Nice.
That's
So I think we have a Bingham Bobcat.
Okay.
Yeah, just same thing. It's not nothing fancy, but I don't know why we'd have a tractor.
yeah.
We should.
Well, the boys at Bingham will take care of you down right there in Buckeye. Right?
Adrian.
Adrian,
Yeah,
and
that's
Brand
it.
Bingham. Those are my guys over there. So
Yeah.
they're friends of the podcast.
Well, all right, man. We better let you go and let you get back to your duties
I
on
know
the farm.
it's getting there. It's like my wife's gonna be like, "Where you at?" I'm like,
Well, you guys screwed around over there.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. And,
Appreciate it.
And
no, man. Thanks for having me.
cool.
Cool. All right.
Thank you. See you later.